In our Spotlight Matthew for today, we have just finished the episode with Jesus and his theology of glory, where for this one brief moment the veil is pulled back and we see Jesus in all of his great majesty, which is hidden throughout the Gospels in Jesus' humility, a humility which will lead him to death, even death upon a cross. Well, this has been a mountaintop experience, and nobody wants to come down off of mountaintop experiences. We certainly saw that in Peter. He didn't want to come down. Remember, he wanted to build booths, one for Jesus, one for Moses, one for Elijah. Let's camp out and stay here. This is awesome. We don't want to go back down off the mountain. But down off the mountain, they did need to come. And as is so often the case, once we have a mountaintop experience, when we return down to normal life, we are confronted very quickly with challenges and with issues that have been developing while we've been up on that mountaintop. And that is exactly the case for Jesus and for Peter, James, and John, as we pick up today in Matthew chapter 17, verse 14. And when they came to the crowd, a man came up, kneeling before him, and said, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is an epileptic, and he suffers terribly. For often he falls into the fire, and often into the water. And I brought him to your disciples, and they could not heal him. And Jesus answered, O faithless and twisted generation, how long am I to be with you? How long am I to bear with you? Bring him here. And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and the boy was healed instantly. Then the disciples came to him privately and said, Why couldn't we cast the demon out? And Jesus said to them, Because of your little faith. For truly I say to you, if you have faith like the grain of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, Move from here to there, and it will move, for nothing will be impossible for you. As Jesus comes down the mountain, as we said, he leaves his mountaintop experience to face trouble. A man comes with his daughter. This daughter is epileptic, but this epileptic illness also is connected to the demonic, as we find out. And this man, desperate, has come to the 9 disciples. As you remember, 3 of the disciples are up with Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration. The man says to the other 9, Will you please help me? My daughter is suffering terribly. And the disciples are unable to provide any kind of assistance whatsoever. So Jesus gets his feet on the ground, coming down off the slope of the mountain, and he is confronted immediately with this situation. And I think it's fascinating to find that Jesus expresses some frustration in this situation, some exasperation with what has happened here. Let me read verse 17 to us once more. Jesus answered, O faithless and twisted generation, how long am I to be with you? How long am I to bear with you? Jesus indeed believes that his 9 disciples should have been able to help in this situation, which may seem amazing to us. But let us not forget that Jesus already has sent them out on a short-term mission trip. And back in chapter 10, Jesus did equip them with the ability, with the power to heal those who were sick and to drive out those with demons. So it was not beyond the realm of possibility that he had already trained them to be able to take a stab at handling this situation, and they had failed miserably with it. Now let's stop and recognize and grapple once again with the frustration of Jesus. Remember, this is not the first time that they have seemed not to get it. Back when Jesus was saying, beware of the leaven of the scribes, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and they thought he was talking about the fact that they hadn't brought bread on the boat. No, they weren't getting it. Or after Peter made the great confession that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, he turns around in the very next episode, the next breath, if you will, and Jesus has to rebuke him, saying, Get behind me, Satan. Your mind is not on the things of God, but on the things of human beings. You're a stumbling block to me. Frustration again. And now we see the exasperation of Jesus yet once more as he comes down off the mountaintop experience. Now, what I want us to see in this is a few things. First of all, Jesus is truly frustrated. And I think that breaks our mental categories. We skip over this sometimes. Jesus frustrated? Jesus exasperated? Because somehow we think that really holy people never get frustrated and never get exasperated. And certainly Jesus shouldn't, because he's God, right? This is to fall into the mistake that is known as Apollinarianism. That's a strange word, but it's a heresy from back in the 4th century, which said that Jesus really was God and all he was in was a human body. He was fully divine with a human body, but not fully human with a fully human nature and soul and spirit. But Jesus was both. And his human soul and spirit was frustrated at this point. Frustrated without sinning. So let's see that as a possibility. Yes, you can become frustrated without sinning. You can be exasperated with a situation or with people without sinning. Jesus did that, and there is room for that in our lives as well. And I think that's important, because sometimes moms and dads think, oh, I'm not a good parent if I get frustrated or exasperated with my child. Not necessarily so. Or we think of our pastors. Well, the pastor got upset about that. Pastors don't get upset about things. No, there are times where righteously your pastor might be frustrated or exasperated with his flock, as Jesus was with the disciples as his flock at that moment. But here's the key. The key is what we do with that frustration. What we do with that exasperation, provided it is righteous, as Jesus was righteous, provided it's not our own garbage that's getting frustrated and exasperated. And you got to do that gut check first. You got to take the log out of your eye first and make sure that's not the case. But what is patience? That's the response. And patience isn't a lack of exasperation. Patience is not that there will never be frustration. Patience is what we do with that exasperation and that frustration. Patience is how we move forward in relationship to the situation or that person. And that's where we are called to show our godliness, not to allow the frustration or the exasperation, even when upright, to control the situation and to dictate the outcome. Which is exactly what happens in this passage, because Jesus doesn't stomp off in a fury or anything like that. No, the disciples come to Jesus privately and say, Rabbi, Master, why couldn't we do it? Why couldn't we come through in that situation where we knew we should have been able to do that? I'm assuming is the case. And Jesus, instead of continuing to be frustrated, he trains the 12. He ministers to them. And he says, look, you couldn't do it because of your lack of faith. In fact, the Greek here probably means no faith whatsoever. You didn't believe that it was possible. And because you didn't believe that it was possible, you were unable to succeed. And you know, the situation, Jesus says, if you have faith even as a mustard seed, remember that mustard seed in the parables of Jesus, even if you have the smallest measure of faith and put it in the right thing, it will be mountain-moving faith. Not literally, Jesus is speaking figuratively. Remember, he just came off the Mount of Transfiguration. It's in the background behind them, looming over them. So he's probably pointing, saying, you'll be able to move that mountain. He doesn't mean you should go move the Mount of Transfiguration, but he speaks of the power that can come from even the smallest measure of faith if it is rightly applied. And so let's conclude by remembering how we apply faith and what our faith looks like, going back to chapter 8 and 9 with those 10 miracles or mighty works of Jesus. In the very first one of them, we found the 3 principles. First of all, do we know who Jesus is? Because it is his power ultimately that moves the mountains, and we must know who he is and believe in who he is. Secondly, do we truly believe that Jesus is able to accomplish the thing if it is indeed God's call and directive? Or do we just say we do? Or do we secretly not think that Jesus could possibly succeed and effect a positive outcome? And thirdly, are we willing to submit to the will of Jesus? If it's your will, if you want to do this, Jesus, I ask you to do it. I dearly desire you to do it, but nevertheless, your will, not my will, be done. Those three principles. Know who Jesus is without a shadow of a doubt. Trust that he is able without any question, and submit the request to him and his will to act and move according to the will and purpose of God. Those are the things that we are supposed to be doing and exercising as we grow from being no faiths to little faiths to greater and greater in our faith. So that's what Jesus encountered when he came down off his mountaintop experience, the challenges of life, rising to the occasion to continue to train the 12 as he continues to train you and he continues to train me every day as we walk in faith. That's Spotlight Good News. Matthew for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll continue with the exciting story of the ministry of Jesus next time.